Yo, I'm gonna cut straight to the chase. I just want to say, I want to speak for all the bots, the new, fuck. I want to speak for the bots, all the newcomers, and especially all the people who don't really get to expand when it comes to Siege. We don't expect you to be a vet when it comes to Siege. We don't expect you to be military like mindset. I say military like mindset because I've said it not a lot, but I've said it enough that bro, I genuinely think if you play any if you are from the military or some type of ops IRL, Siege would be a good game to play for I guess not for the mental but just for the joy of it. And I say that not to be like, what about the people with the fucking PTSD? No. It's the fact that it's really all on mental and util. And this is where I'm gonna actually begin my VOD. What does it mean to fail? Like, let's just say it's like a 2v3 scenario and your teammate asks you, hey, teammate, can you fill in this gap? What does filling the gap mean? Filling the gap means you can think about it as like a cross or crossfire. And that might sound the same thing. It kind of is the same thing, but let me just get into more detail. Fill is kind of like you would want to close a gap, you know? Think about like a water filter, you know? When you want to fill out something, you're not only filling out the gunk of the water, you're also filling out the water that's being able to use, it's drinkable, And when it comes to filling a gap, you don't necessarily want to filter too much because you never know, you might not get all the gunk out the water. Let's just use that as an analogy. So it's be very careful when you hear certain call outs on saying, hey, someone's here, and all of a sudden you die right after that call out because there's a gap being filled, you know? And that's just on your end. That's, slow communication, slow reaction timing and all that good stuff. So when you have an attacker that's very good with patience and you have to hold an angle for a very, 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 very long time, and the moment you move, you die. It isn't that does fall under patience, but it also falls under filling a gap. You left your post just to fill in a gap that was that wasn't needed to be filled. And then instead of you being a filler, you became a filter. You got filtered out of your position. You got drawn out of your position. Even though, like, have you ever had those moments where it's a tough moment where it's well, this game is too close. I cannot be dying at all. I can't be doing no BS. And all of a sudden, the game feels like it's going way too slow. I don't know if that make any sense. Point is, when you get filtered out of your positioning and when you try to fill in a gap, that's an advantage and a disadvantage at both attack and defense, because you would not only want to give you what slow down. You wouldn't only want them to know your positioning, but you would also want them to give up their positioning. It's we all know you can't be nowhere else but here, but time is at an essence where it stands on only patience and timing. Like I said, the moment you move, you die. You got filtered out of your spot. And being filtered can mean many things. You can get droned, you can get scanned, you can get grimmed, you can get jackaled, you can get doki called. All those things can filter you out of your positioning or filter you out of your spot. That makes it easier for the enemies to be okay, I know where to push and where not to push. And that's where gaps come in at. And I didn't say it before, but this alibi VOD is just trying to explain the filler type of topic I'm trying to talk about. Only because Like, and I strongly believe I speak for the bots. I speak for the bad players. When you are in a competitive game, you would want to try your best to help. But the more your teammates die, the more you get scared. The more you just camp. The more you just sit in the open. The more you just don't know what to do because it's a 1v5 and you barely know the map and you know you're not sure where they're gonna push from. And that's why I said we don't expect you to be a vet like in the brain for Siege or like military like, you know? And I believe all these guys that like do pro, I guarantee you they have not touched military IRL at all. But it's just in the mindset and taking that account and responsibility to like feel that way, you know? And that probably might seem way too deep for like, you know, the like for the brain, but it kind of makes perfect sense in my. And now let's just talk about Grim more. I feel like when it comes to Grim, he's a prime example of a filler. No, yeah, right? No, filter. He is the type to filter out enemies. Like, it's self-explanatory, you know? If you need to clear position without trying to get caught up in a gap, you can shoot your Grims, you know? Like, when it comes to wordplay, I feel like most players get confused when you say, "What do you mean this? What do you mean by that? What do you mean like what does all these lingos mean when it comes to Siege?" Learn the game. Learn the game. Play with players, you know. Bro, like I say, watch Fed, bro. Watch Pro League. Like when I say watch Pro League, there's YouTubers who are pros and they upload like once in a while. Watch them. You would understand just from a quick 30-minute video, 20-minute video, probably 10-minute video, you know? But at most 20, 30-minute video, you know? You would understand these lingos and you would see why they do what they do and say what they say, you know? It's easier to see on the receiving end. It's like, why can't you just push this without getting shot at? Why don't you just wallbang him? Why don't you just, you know? And it's easier said than done when you go up against good players. And when it comes to knowing both sides of the enemy and like of the enemies, you would question yourself, why don't this player just know he's there? You know, like if he's so good, why he just don't just ash rush? You know, just rush in. You know, there's points where like you can be the best ash ever, and then you would go up against the best defenders only because they know how to filter and filler and get gaps closed, open, and create motion, basically. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to taking your time, you literally have to take your time. This game revolves around time, literally. So it's like, don't expect to wait 2 minutes for someone to push you, but they know you're there. And then the moment you move, they kill you. How? I'll tell you how. Sound cue. How do you know sound cue? You fucking moved, you know? So it's like, it all revolves around patience, timing, confidence, and also knowing what you're doing. And once again, I want to touch on and keep repeating myself to get it through your brain. Filler, filter. Filler is filling in the gaps. Help your teammate out. If your teammate calls something out, check. Oh, fuck. Check your surroundings and you need to fill in that gap. Like I said, it's easier said and done. And you have your filter. If you want to clean out the dirty water, you probably won't get all the gunk out the water. And it might be safe to drink, but still try to filter the best you can, because I'm telling you, when it comes to a clutch moment, you're gonna have to make risk, you know? Your example for the risk taking a comment. Example, you're not gonna have a Thatcher spawn without Thermite. What are you doing? Why aren't you spawning with Thatcher? He's gonna need you off rip. Why are you across the map? And I put that under risk because most of the times you can have two different operators on a different side of the map and still get shit done. But then again, you have to wait, patience, timing, certain pushes, you know, angles. All those things fall under just being simply good at Siege. And now, when I speak on Smoke, Smoke is a perfect defender to filter. You know, if you want to create a gap, I didn't say that yet though. Did I? No, I didn't. Did I? No. No, I didn't. Bro, I'm really going crazy right now. Anyways, yeah. Smoke is a perfect example of a filter. You would want to create a gap. Because most of the times, when you have gaps, you would want to keep the gap tight as possible, aka tight angle, you know? But in this sense, as a team and as a formation, you will want to close in and create gaps. If you have a Monty and a Blitz together, that's dangerous. Create a gap between them. Force them to separate. You Smoke, he's a filter. He will fill out them so much that their smokes would kill them. No, like, no, their smokes. Your smoke would kill them. So it's either die by smoke or separate. They have to separate, you know? So it's good to have a calm mindset when it comes to knowing what to do in tough, clutch, and fast pushes. Because, like I said, Ash Rush, boom, she runs, sprints, she dies off rip. Why? Not because someone's camping, it's only because why not just fill this little ass gap, you know? Like, we all know if you Ash Rush, you're not going to check spots that you know you should check. You're just going to rush because you expect that to be us. You expect it to be so bad. No, I'm going to fill in that gap and kill you and run right back to site, you know? So, take heed. Good word, nice. Take heed when it comes to hearing things. You can hear Ash charge, not hear Ash. You can hear a breach charge, but not hear any footsteps. And you can say that kind of like doesn't make sense in what I'm trying to say, but what I'm really trying to say is don't try to revolve around one simple call or one simple sound, because then again you can get tricked on leaving your position and you would create a gap for that enemy to push through. It's like, wait, what? I thought she was here. I heard an Ash charge. No, you just fell for the trick. And all of a sudden you just got one tap, you know? So be mindful when you get caught up into gaps, because then again, gaps can squish you enough to kill you, but it's always safe to separate. And it's not always it's always safe, but it's always risky because you wouldn't want to have less power on a powerful push and vice versa. You know, you would always want to have the best push on the best side so you can get more power on that side, you know? Like if the defense had like a weak a weak util on a wall, you would not only bring thermite, you would bring ace just in case, because it's a weak util, you know? Like you don't need to have everybody on this wall only because, you know, it's barricaded, it's reinforced, and you have, you know, Kais and, you know, bandits, you know, you have two without ice on the fucking wall. No, we don't need everyone here. Go create some go diversity. Go create some like some space for us, you know? Let us do our role, and as you as a player, help me out, you know? So all it is, and I hope this VOD makes sense. I know it does, and to me, it won't. Playing off site. What does it mean to play off site? Why is it so out of the norm to play off site? Excuse me? Wait, it's not out of the norm, but when it comes to like AIs and bots, it's not normal. So, playing off site is a key factor when it comes to common pushes and common sites, because everyone does the same exact thing. The only thing we do different is timing. You would expect someone to push at a certain time because they know you're not playing on site. But when it comes to playing off site, you get to catch the enemies at the front door. Literally, you know? You get to be the front line, literally, you know? So instead of them trying to, you know, get in the building, they can't because you're off site, you know? So you have a perimeter of what is a possibility of where they're going to push from. And that does still, you know, revolve around filters, you know, it does revolve around that, but just the base of playing off site, it helps a lot because you can cut enemies off, you know, and like, hey, you may think, hey, site's clear. You can't push site without going in the building, you know? So it's like, you may see it that simply, but when it comes to a moment where like you may think it's free, but reality is not because this guy is playing off site. Oh my gosh, he's annoying. No, he's playing it smart. It's not like I'm not going to go head to head with my enemy. I'm just gonna get him off guard. I'm just gonna like play a mental game with him for his crack kind of. So playing offside is very, very, very important, and it does work all the time when it comes to like certain players. But it works sometimes when it's like a good map, and that might sound totally backwards and like gibberish, but I would explain that, but not in this VOD. So the next time you see your enemies playing off-site, don't discourage them. Don't look at them as like, oh yeah, you're bad, I'm a rush site. No, I'm telling you, bro. Take that as a message where like they know what they're doing. They're not only trying to filter you out or like fill in gaps. They're literally playing ahead of you. They're literally a step. They're I don't know why, like, off topic, like, I feel like when I talk too much and I want to watch it be so good and I want my voice to be behind the video at an exact, like, per second, I just mumble jumble, bro. Anyways, don't discourage players who play off site because they're literally a step ahead of you. Like, they're ahead of you, It's easier said than done. It's easier to push a building without enemies or traps trying to slow you down versus having traps and enemies slowing you down while you're trying to get in the building. It's annoying, and then you want to repel, you get jumped out on. So it's like it goes a long way of like trying to realize if you roam you suck. If you roam, I'll just push site. Be mindful now. It works sometimes, but not all the time, so just to like not to like push an agenda, but to prove a point, playing offsite is very important. Now this is where I target. I target all the CAV players. I target all the players who love to run out of sight. You're not playing offsite. Right? Just make it clear. You're not playing offsite. I'm gonna say three things. Mid roam, far roam. Wait, I said three, but that's two. Mid roam, far roam, and just just roam in general. Mid roam is playing off site. Mid is like 1, 2, 3, 4 floors, and I'm on the 3rd floor, and site is on the 4th floor. That's mid roaming. Far roaming is 1, 2, 3, 4. Site is on the 4th floor. I'm on the 2nd floor. That's far roaming. Roaming in general is going through 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 constantly, and site is on 4. So for any players who sit on 1 and site is on 4 for the longest, you're not roaming at all. You're just sitting there camping and hoping someone pushes that certain area, which 10 out of 10 they're not. So it's like, don't expect to be a CAV player, sit in a corner and just wait, bro. Mine is getting droned or like identified. No one's gonna purposely look at that one spot only because you're caviar. You're not gonna catch no one lacking, my guy. So your best bet is just to stop doing that shit, bro. I swear to God, stop doing that shit. It's like when you're caviar or like whoever, visual, oh my God, visual players, stop doing that. If site is on 4th floor, stop running down to 1 floor and thinking people will go to 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't need to go in order. They can literally just go to 3rd floor, 2nd floor. You would never know if you're not actually roaming. So stop sitting, laying down, prone, expecting a kill only because you know you can get a kill from this spot. Which 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 other times you won't. Sorry. And what makes it so better is like you would be in a 1v5 scenario only on your own understanding. I'm coming out. Sorry. You would die in a 1v5 scenario to your own understanding because you realize they already have sight. Air jabs, claymores, all types of stuff, The moment you push up sight, you're getting clapped because they already have room. They already filled in the gap. The gap has been filled the longest. How can you clutch this 1v5 scenario? Tell me, So the next time you run around thinking you're actually roaming and you're not, you're not. So stop doing it, please, and thank you. Yeah. And speaking of roaming, there's also a counter when it comes to roaming for the defense of end. You can do runouts, you know? If you're roaming enough that no one is like on your floor or like on your level like floor, you can still roam safely, but you have to make a risk. What's that risk? Runouts, jump outs, you know? If they're not pushing here, where are they? You know, you have spawn peaks, you know. That is an advantage to you as a defender if you don't see no one in the building, you know. So don't make it seem like, oh, they're not gonna push here. They might push there, but not at the timing that you may think they are. So make a risk. Do a jump out, run out, you know. What? Spawn peak, you know. C4, you know, throw C4, you know, from spawn and shit. So make it harder for them to enter the building and make it harder for them to identify where and what's going on. This is my favorite, bro. Picking up. What does pick up mean? Like I may butcher the meaning, but I know it means something. Picking up. Let's just say you have teammates. They're holding good angles. You know, you have a teammate here, teammate there. You know, they have this and that. You know, sight is looking pretty good. You know, sight looks good enough that you're comfortable. So you know that's a plus. What do you do as a person that is trying to pick up? One thing you could do is roam. The second thing you can do to pick up as a teammate, it's not fill in the gaps. It's not filter. It's pick up where your teammate left off. If you're not assigned to anything, I'm not saying camp, lay down, prone, or sit in a corner and act lost. You need to be the person to cause diverse. You need to be the person to make people move. If everyone else is holding angles and you're the only one free, you need to make people shake. You need to create a gap. And creating a gap goes a long way from this type of player who's picking up because you're free, you know, like you don't have to do anything, you know. Keyword, you don't have to, you know. So keywords, not word. You don't have to, you know, but by choice and by default, you're going to have to because one, we need to win this game, and two, for a player, it creates a development of, I would say, character. That's a good word. Fill in the gaps, you know. If a teammate dies from a position where they were once holding, you can pick up on that spot, and not only you just made a gap tighter, you literally made enemies freak out. And how do they freak out when you pick up so fast? They don't have backup plans, and that's the curse when it comes to attacking without a backup plan. When you expect one push and it doesn't work, what now? You know, if the enemy team refrags constantly, you wouldn't want to constantly push the same person because they already know if one's here, two's here. If two is here, three is here. If four is here, the whole team is here. So there's no point of you to hold any angle or even roam because they're all pushing one side. And that falls under a strategy, you know, on the attack side. And being tucked in. The alibi clip showed me by the dresser a little bit, but it's to demonstrate being tucked, you know. And I want to put it under like not the definition, but like I want to put it under like what I said about, you know, picking up is realize when an attacker is pushing, they're not looking for gaps nor filters. They're looking for opportunities, you know. They just need a pick. Get it now? They just need a pick. That's it. So when an attacker is trying to get in the building and it's, you know, they did it correctly, the fact that they can't find gaps or they can't find a way to like make you move, they're gonna look for opportunities, you know. They're gonna start to drone more. They're gonna like look at you like they're gonna look at you. How do I do this? Like, how do I say this? Think of the lottery. They will look at you like an opportunity, but almost like a scratch off. It's like they're hitting this, hit this, like let's just say you scratch $5, $10, $20, but you need to get, the same amount 3 times. That's how I kind of look at it, only because they're not really looking for gaps. They're looking for opportunities to make you create a gap. Everything is about creation. Creation is simple as, doing a rotate, doing a mirror strat, doing a castle strat, doing a ash push. That's creating something. It can create a gap, it can create a fill, a filter, it can create anything you want to as an attacker and a defender, just based off what you do and how sight is made. Yeah. So the next time you want to hold a position and an attacker is trying to push you and they don't really kill you as fast, or not even kill you as fast, when they push you and they don't really kill you, they just chalk it. It's not to say that you did a good job, which kudos to you, but it seems like that opportunity and that gap wasn't big enough to actually work, so they're gonna chalk it, go somewhere else. And I'm just strictly showing not only angles, but I'm showing opportunities, how fast and how quick things could happen if you pick up and support your teammates. And I'm just honestly trying my best to show in all these clips how things work and how it can be not hard, but it can be put into a simple form of a way that you can understand why things happen and why they happen, how they happen. You know, don't expect to throw something up and it won't come down. It's gravity, cool, yeah, but don't expect. You need to expect a reaction for a reaction. If you don't move, I don't move. If you move, I won't move. You move more, I move a little. So you're gonna get a reaction out of everything when it comes to Siege, because it's Siege. That's self. That's what Siege is. But when it comes to like the game in general, gaps. Look out for your gaps. Look for a push. Look for an opportunity. Look at the way people play. Look how they drone. Look why they drone. You see many players drone a spot and not push it. You may wonder why. There's an opportunity at hand. You know what I'm saying? So if that helps a lot, hope it does. Like always, have fun. GG's.